I pretended to have a vasectomy. 2 years later, my wife is pregnant. I am going through a horrible dilemma and I'm so deep in, I have no idea what to do. My wife and I have been married for 9 years and we have 2 kids together and we aren't planning on having any more. Well, my wife is set on that idea, but I wanted to have at least 5 kids and she only wanted to have 1 or none. This doesn't take away from the fact that she is a great mother, it's just her preference. Going into the marriage, we sort of compromised to have maybe 2 or 3 kids. I am set on having 3, but she didn't want any more. It's been 5 years since having the first 2, and around 2 years ago, she was hell-bent on me getting a vasectomy. I wasn't comfortable with it and refused, but it became the center of our arguments. We dated for 5 years before getting married, so we have been together for a total of 12 years when this occurred. Now we have been together for 14 years. These were such lovely times, and I didn't want to end our relationship on this, especially since we have kids together. So I agreed to the vasectomy after months of arguing. Fast forward to now, my wife is pregnant. She doesn't know how this could have happened, but I do. I never got the vasectomy. 2 years ago, I pretended that I got it and I told her someone else took me to the appointment. I took off a week of work so I could recover from it. I tried to be cautious while sleeping with my wife, but it obviously didn't work. Now my wife is furious as I told her that the vasectomy could have failed rather than telling her the truth. She's also scheduling appointments with lawyers so she can sue the practice in which I received the surgery. However, if they have the records, it will prove that I never got it. Now my wife is also thinking about having an abortion, but I'm trying to convince her to drop this whole thing, and if anything, this child is a miracle. What should I do now? I'm worried if I tell her the truth that she will leave me. I don't want to lose her. She's the love of my life. I know that this is my fault, but please help me on how I should go about this. Am I wrong for refusing to give my stepson my engagement ring because he never treated me like family? I, 49 female, have been with my husband Bill, 53 male, for the past 20 years. Bill had 2 children from his previous marriage, Jim, 31, and Paige, 27. We also have 1 biological child together, Harry, 16 male. Jim and Paige's mom passed away when they were 9 and 5. I met Bill around 2 years after his former wife had died. When I started building a relationship with the kids, I made it clear that I was not going to replace their mom and would be a trusted figure whom they could approach if they ever needed me. That being said, I still made an effort to treat them like I would my own child. I would take them to school, pick them up, take them to doctor's appointments, make their lunches, ask my parents to get them presents for Christmas and birthdays, etc. Both kids were somewhat hostile towards me at first, which I understand because they lost their mom. However, Paige eventually warmed up to me and saw me as a trusted, confident, and maternal figure. She didn't ask me, nor did I expect her to want me to adopt her, but she still calls me mom, which I appreciate. Jim, on the other hand, continued to be mean and hostile. I have never treated him poorly or antagonized him. Nevertheless, he would make misogynistic statements like, "It's your job as a woman to clean the dishes," when I would ask him to clean his plate, or call me a bitch when my back was turned. My husband told him many times that the way he was treating me was uncalled for and for us to go to family therapy, but he always refused. He eventually moved out reaching adulthood. He continues to make contact with his father and siblings, but it's minimal between him and me. Even then, he doesn't treat me well. Now, I have an engagement ring that is a family heirloom for several generations. It is passed down from the mother to the oldest child. My husband got the ring from my mom to propose to me. I told all 3 children about this heirloom a few years ago. Anyway, Jim currently has a girlfriend whom he intends to propose to. He called me out of the blue one day and asked if he could have the ring. I told him no. When he asked why, I told him it was because of how he has treated me all these years and how he continues to treat me, and I don't want my family heirloom going to someone who sees me as a vermin. When he asked whom it would go to, I told him it would go to Paige when she gets engaged. When he heard this, he lost his shit and accused me of playing favorites. I eventually hung up when he wouldn't stop insulting me and blocked his number. My husband is on my side, but his maternal relatives have all been blowing up my phone, telling me what an asshole I am. So, am I?
Am I wrong for saying no to my wife to be a bridesmaid? I am or was going to be the best man at my brother's wedding next year. My wife was also invited to be a bridesmaid, and initially she said yes. It turns out the bride is now expecting my wife to get a whole new wardrobe for the bridal showers, bachelorette party, rehearsal, and reception dinner on top of the bridesmaid's dress. And the only color she's allowed to wear to all of these events is the same lavender color as her bridesmaid's dress. She was even given a few swatches of the material to take shopping with her. The shoes and makeup have to match the photos, and even pajamas have to match. I know it's a lot, you guys. All I can say is at least the pictures are going to be so cute. Anyway, the bachelorette party is a week getaway, plus all the other events. It's like an additional 10 days of clothes that my wife will never wear again. She normally wears black or dark color clothes. I bring this up to my brother after he brings me the swatches of the fabric. I told him it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Am I wrong for saying no to my wife to be a bridesmaid? I brought this up to my brother after he brought me some fabric and I told him it was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. He said that's why they're giving me almost a year to get together all the items for the bachelorette and wedding. I'm thinking of my wife's reaction because she's already not great friends with the bride. I told my brother that my wife can attend the wedding as a guest and not a bridesmaid. So my brother gets all upset saying I'm upsetting his fiance's aesthetic that she had planned. He feels like all he's asking is a few days of accommodation and I'm saying no. So he tells me I'm no longer his best man for this and I'm selfish for destroying his fiance's dream wedding over a few dresses. By the way, I'm not sure why some people think I didn't discuss this with my wife. I told her afterwards and she laughed saying hard pass. Maybe when you grow up into a functional, healthy relationship, you'll understand that you can predict your partner's moods and their boundaries. Top comment says, people are not an aesthetic. They are not a prop in someone's wedding. An aesthetic is a centerpiece. Am I wrong for purchasing my guy friend his dream birthday gift and outshining his girlfriend in the process? My guy friend Tom has been one of my best friends since college. We're in our mid-20s now and both currently in committed relationships with long-term partners. I've never had feelings for Tom, nor has he ever had them for me. Since college, Tom has been a huge watch fanatic. Well, 2 months ago, he was showing me this stunning vintage watch and made an offhanded comment about how he would die of joy if he got his hands on one. Very coincidentally, I was in New York City after a few weeks and I stumbled upon this watch store. They had the exact one that Tom wanted for $2,500. But I decided to get it for his 25th birthday because to me, it was basically fate. My boyfriend and I do very well financially, so this was something I could definitely afford, and I wanted to buy it for Tom, especially knowing how happy it'd make him. For his birthday, Tom has a tradition of hosting a dinner party and opening all of his gifts. Am I wrong for purchasing my guy friend his dream gift and outshining his girlfriend? I told him before the dinner that my gift was a huge surprise and asked if he could save it for last, and he agreed. His girlfriend ends up going first and she gets him this gorgeous sweater that she crocheted and a book that he's been wanting, which I thought was super thoughtful and lovely. Last it was my gift, and when he opened it and saw what it was, he literally screamed and hopped over a bunch of people and squeezed me in this huge bear hug. I was so happy to see him happy and it genuinely filled me with so much joy. He even got emotional and wiped a few tears. He also said it was the best gift he'd ever received. The whole time, his girlfriend was slightly smiling and staying quiet. The next morning, I got a text from his girlfriend that essentially said although she appreciated the gift, she thought it was a bit out of touch and lacking awareness. She admitted that Tom told her about the watch and she wanted to get it, but it was out of budget. She accused me of knowing this and still getting it to rub it in her face and outshine it. Am I wrong for kicking my sister-in-law out for making my drunk husband feel like shit? My sister-in-law, her husband, and her kid 14 are staying with me and my husband for the next week. This is because there's a family funeral and all hotels were booked out for the Bluegrass Fest and Kane Brown concert. We have a big farmhouse, so it's really not a big deal, but my sister-in-law is very opinionated. My sister-in-law and my husband have different fathers, and her dad died from liver failure 10 years ago. He was a massive alcoholic, so my sister-in-law turns into a witch whenever she sees anyone drinking. Well, my husband, who's not a big drinker, went out with his friends last night as a kind of hoorah because we will be welcoming our first daughter into this world in about a month. He just wanted to celebrate his becoming of a dad, and I encouraged him to go. I arranged for his Uber back home, and he came in about 11 p.m. last night, very drunk. He walked in the door singing Let's Stay Together and dancing, spinning me around the living room. And he was doing some very sloppy waltz. Am I wrong for kicking my sister-in-law out for making my drunk husband feel like shit? He was singing Let's Stay Together and spinning me around in the living room in some very sloppy waltz and laughing the whole time, tripping over himself. Now, my dad is an alcoholic too, so I get it, but honestly, I was having a blast with my husband. Sister-in-law comes into the room and just starts laying into my husband about him drinking. She starts screaming, saying he's gonna turn out just like dad, and at this point, my husband's mood is dead and he's crying. I lost it. I told her, how can he turn out like a POS when that POS isn't his father? Get out of my house right now and don't ever come back. She went immediately quiet and said she couldn't take her daughter out at this time of night and that no hotels had vacancy and my husband knew better than to drink. At least around her, but I told her that's not my problem. Now the whole family is pissed at me and my husband right now for both him drinking in front of sister-in-law and me kicking them out at midnight. By the way, I never said her daughter or husband had to leave, just her.
Am I in the wrong for demanding my coworker to pay me for a ride to work after many months of giving her a ride for free? For the last 14 months, I've been driving one of my coworkers to and from work. She only lives a mile up the road from me and is on the way, so I've never asked her for a dime or accepted when she's offered me money. From my perspective, I'm going there either way, and overall her household expenses are higher than my own, so it felt like the right thing to do. Over the weekend, my car went to the shop. I told my coworker that I wouldn't be available to give her a ride either Monday or Tuesday. She said it wasn't a problem because her boyfriend is off this week and would give her a ride. I asked if I could bum a ride as well. I even offered to walk to her home so that they wouldn't have to drive backwards. She asked her boyfriend about it and he said he would, but he wanted $20 for the 2 days. I know it's just $20, but that set me off. I declined the offer and said that I'd find my own ride. At work yesterday, she asked me about my car. I told her that I'd be getting my car Tuesday night after work, but that going forward I'd like $30 a week, a third of my gas costs, if she wanted to ride with me. She was upset about this and said that her boyfriend had only wanted money from me because by having me in the car, he was being forced to drive straight home when he picked me up. I pointed out that I've been happy to drive straight home to help her out for over a year and that it probably wouldn't have killed him to show me at least some level of appreciation. Today, she said that she'd no longer be riding with me after talking about it with her boyfriend. She said that she felt disappointed with me for holding his actions against her and that I was being petty. A couple other coworkers told me throughout the day that her boyfriend's just an a-hole and she doesn't really have a say at home, but overall agreed with me that it was a D move. From my perspective, this dude directly benefits from me thanks to his girlfriend not needing a car of her own or spending a dime on travel, and my coworker should have defended me. So am I being petty about all of this? Am I in the wrong for jumping off a train before the doors close and abandoning my pregnant wife? I'll try to explain this as best I can. I'm 29 and my wife is 25. She's also 5 months pregnant. Recently, we decided to go on a holiday together. Nothing fancy, just to the coast, which meant that we had to get a train. We had maybe 3 rolling suitcases and one of those army-style backpacks. There was no issue as we boarded the train and we sat down and put the luggage next to us. About 20 minutes into our journey, we heard an announcement over the speakers that the train was being diverted, which meant it wasn't going to stop at the station we needed anymore. As he was saying this, the train was coming to a stop at the next station. I panicked and told my wife that we had to get off or we weren't going to be able to get to where we needed. I got up and started grabbing our things and rushed off the train. I couldn't believe it when I looked around and saw that she hadn't gotten off. She was trying to grab our 3rd suitcase. I had the other 2 in the backpack. Unfortunately, it was too late, and even as I rushed to the doors, they closed. My wife looked like she wanted to kill me, and the train pulled away with her on it. I called her to tell her to get off at the next stop and that I'd get the next one and meet her, but she was absolutely irate and told me that the holiday was canceled and she was going home. To top it off, she told her family and mine, and they're all furious at me for abandoning a pregnant woman on a train, headed to God knows where, with a heavy suitcase. My father-in-law told me that I was an idiot for what I'd done. I feel like I was in the right, but my wife and family have other ideas. Am I in the wrong for keeping my son from his senior prom as punishment? We have a son who just graduated from high school. This happened in May, but we are still dealing with the fallout. Our son is very clearly still upset with us because of his punishment. This is why I'm asking for help for my husband and I. Our son has 3 best friends who he's been close with since elementary school. They've all played sports together, and between that and school, we've become friends with the other boys' parents. I was not there to see this happen, so this is the account of another mom. The boys were at one friend's house who has a pool and had some girls over. They were sitting at the table that could have been seen from the kitchen window. The boy's mom saw her son taking pictures on Snapchat of a girl who was there. After everyone left, she confronted her son about this and found a Snapchat group that the 4 boys made where they share snipes of girls that they've taken. I'm not going to go into detail about how upset this made my husband and I. We thought we raised our son to be much better than that. All the parents got involved and we each punished our sons. The chat was deleted and their phones were searched for images. Because of the severity, we collectively decided that our boys would not be allowed to go to their senior prom, which was 3 weeks away at this point. So here's what I'm questioning. A week before prom, all 3 of the other sets of parents caved and decided they were going to allow their boys to go. I spoke with a few of them and questioned their reasoning. I was taken aback by some of their dismissals, but the general theme was holding their sons out of a once-in-a-lifetime event and, rather disgustingly, almost chalking it up to boys will be boys. They said that they would find a new punishment. My husband and I decided that we were having none of that. We did hold our son back from prom. We did not allow him to attend the after party either. He was livid and still is. He keeps saying how we took this experience from him and it was not fair. So were we in the wrong for standing by the punishment?